Welcome to another episode of the Pillar Podcast, Student Edition. And today we are at the Phoenix School of Discovery. And today I have with me Jane, Xavier, and Jamarion. So I'll give you each a moment to introduce yourself. You can say, anything you would like us to know about you.
Hi, my name is Jane, she, her. I've been at Phoenix I'm going for my second year now, and I graduate this year, and I'm mixed Black and Korean.
Congratulations on getting out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Next phase coming.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Xavier Morris. I am a senior. This will be my last year of the school. One of my occupations I usually do is art. I'm still working on it because I've been practicing for about 7 or 8 years now, so that's probably what I'll be doing when I'm out of here. I am a Black African American.
My name is Jamarion. I'm a freshman here, and the things I like to do is play video games or do art or read books. One thing about me is that I'm a military brat family. I have a lot of military people in my family, and I'm going to West Point when I graduate from high school. So
Nice. I have quite a few military in my family as well. I was this close to doing Air Force, but it just didn't work out for me. But yeah, that's awesome, and thank you in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you in advance. So let's just jump right in here. I would like to know what is one of the most exciting things about being a part of the Phoenix community?
I would say this is something I've noticed since the beginning, but since I first came here, it's a lot of people who were here under special circumstances a lot of the time, and so everyone's individual, and this is a school that I've been able to be at where everyone seems to accept everybody. It's a small school, so we're a tight-knit community, but in my classes it's smaller. We tend to have we don't have problems with understaffing really. We'll have 1 or 2 teachers for the classroom, and the teacher will be able to get along to actually get to know the students, so we're able to feel like a family in a way.
I would say my experiences here it's been phenomenal, honestly. There's a lot of people that I've known that have way different backgrounds than I have, and a lot of people here are more accepting than other schools, I'd say, because I've had if I have experiences with what's the word, just not well. Okay, I'm backtrack. I would say that this school just has a way more open. I would say a lot more people with open arms and more acceptance than other schools. I haven't really dealt with any kind of conflicts here because a lot of people are more accepting. But yeah, this school is very nice.
one thing I like to see about the school is that when you first come here, you're not sure what you're going to do, what you're going to do. But I've seen people like me, and my friends, they have gone from 6th grade to the 12th grade, and how they grown and how much talent they had they never shown in other schools. So that's one thing that you see here at Phoenix. A lot of talented people.
That's awesome. One of my questions was going to be about a sense of belonging. So Jane, your response was spot on for that. It sounds like everyone, although uniquely different, has some of the same shared experience, right? So I'm going to throw out a couple phrases or terms, and I would like to get your perception of what that means. And let's start with sense of belonging.
So here, and if we are talking about race, I would say honestly at this school I don't think people even see it. I think when I am in my classes, you hear jokes every now and then, but it's like joking about yourself or a stereotype or something, but no one seems to want to nitpick or make fun. And if anything, this is a school where if you were to say something like that or do something that was harmful in that way, to make fun of someone's race, it would be an immediate like uptick in the classroom. Everyone would be upset about it and ready to defend you. And I've seen that before. And it doesn't have to feel, for once, it doesn't have to feel awkward or like you're so culturally different. And I mean, I was raised in a very Asian household, so I have been to, in the past, when I've been to schools that were more all white, that was really noticeable. But here, it just doesn't feel like such a big difference
Just a thing,
anymore,
yeah.
because everyone else like noticeably has their own differences, and they don't need to make it a big deal. It doesn't have to be a big deal, or a conversation even.
I would agree with that. This school, honestly, like even the phrase of sense of belonging, like you don't have to think about it. It's just everyone here just accepts you for who you are. It's not something that you have to really like think. Well, these people like you see, like they know I'm black and all that. Will they accept me? But here, you don't gotta worry about that. Now, other schools I've seen, like a white class, they're gonna look at you different than how people that accept you look at you. So.
Here, it's like a whole big family. Everybody knows each other. Even like during my first year here, like I knew my whole entire class, but I knew people from other grades because it's a small school, like Jane said, and you don't know each other by the time it's like the first day of school to last day of school. You feel a sense of connection because like let's say I'm really good at art, so like Xavier, that's the sense of connection we have. Some people are really good at sports, they have a sense of connection. And it's like, it doesn't matter what race you are, how smart you are, where you come from, it doesn't matter in the school.
So it's safe to assume that all three of you were at different schools prior to coming here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Comparing the different experiences, do you think this sense of belonging that you feel was helped curated by the staff here, or is it more of the student body kind of creates that togetherness?
I think it's a grand mixture of both. Like I said, we have a lot of our classes, or most actually for me, have a teacher and a co-teacher, and we truly have great staff here. I mean, they actually try to make connections with the students, and you can tell that they're excited to teach, and that's one thing that I always like to look for because it makes the whole classroom light up in a way. But I think that a big part of it is also the student body, and I don't know when exactly that connection or these relationships with each other were fostered. I'm sure that this has been for years, because I mean, since when I first came here, it's been like a family.
It's been that way,
That is genuinely the best way to explain it. I mean, like he said, I know my class, I know everyone in my classes, I know most people in other grades, I know people in the middle school, and everyone knows each other and we seem to get along, and there just don't have to be any kind of disagreements based on like your age or your race or anything like that. That's just not something that we see, and we get to connect with each other without having to worry about things being cringy. I mean, there's a big cringe culture now, especially with like our generation.
Yeah.
There's a big thing on bullying based on just trends or what's cool and what's not.
Yeah.
And I really don't think I think we're separated from that in a way from other schools. I've noticed that when someone does follow a trend or doesn't follow a trend, it just isn't important to who that person is as an individual. You can still be friends with that person and foster a relationship.
How do you think that impacts your learning environment?
It's so much better.
So if I'm like in the back when I was in Northern Commons, I had like a mostly white class, and I learned faster than normal kids, but like the teachers and other students didn't like that, or the students take advantage of me and make them help them. So, but here, I can just like learn my own pace. If I want to help somebody, I can. Mostly I do because it's me. And I learned a lot faster. I used to struggle back in 5th grade a lot. When I came to 6th grade, I was like, I shone. I was like one of the best students here. I'm always an honor roll student. It helps you learn way better.
I've got another term. I want to get your opinion on implicit bias. When you hear implicit bias, what comes to mind?
The immediate assumption that comes with someone presenting themselves in a certain way, whether it's about race or sexuality or an interest or anything. It's just that quick stereotyping or assumption that can change their whole view of you.
Yeah. And just hearing some of your responses, it doesn't, to me, at this point, feel like you experience implicit bias here. Is that a fair assumption?
I feel like, obviously, there will never be a space where everything is completely perfect.
Absolutely.
And it's always like that. And I've definitely had a few moments where that wasn't the case, where there was some sort of implicit bias, and you can tell. But here, compared to other places, it's so lowered that I just don't deal with that anymore. And if anything, when I have dealt with quote-unquote implicit bias, it will be phrased more like a question than something rude or like a remark, something that someone has to say. I've heard a lot of respectful questions about race. I've heard respectful questions about language. I mean, because I make jokes about, speaking Korean, the language and things. And so I've gotten questions about it, but it's never anything rude or stereotyped. That's just not something that would fly here.
I would say when it comes to that, I'm gonna start off what you said. A lot of people here are more like curious about, like the things that you can do and all that, like especially when it comes to like I guess race or background. Like instead of people being like blunt and like mean and all that to make it fun of you, but they actually ask you like what your background is, and like they do it in such a nice way that it opens like a lot of people up to to be able to tell like their story, I guess you could say.
Here, the way people view you is how you present yourself, not based on race, which clothes you wear, where you come from. Is like how well you do, how well you can do when teachers give you work or stuff like that. It's not how you look. It's like how well you do. They basically give you like a year to see how well you do, and then they did some make assumptions like, oh, he's a good kid, oh, he's talented at this, oh, he's talented at that, or something like that.
Man, I just I've talked to students at other schools, and obviously I was once a student, believe it or not, JCPS. I went to Zachary Taylor, and then I went to Westport Middle, then I went to Ballard for 2 years, and then I finished at Wagner. My experience is completely different than you all's. Not to say good or bad, but just completely different, right? How my next question or phrase was systemic racism. What comes to mind when you hear that?
That reminds me of when people, I think this does go back to assumption, when people make assumptions about, in this case, I think a lot of it tends to be intelligence, or a lot of it tends to be education, which in some cases is fair, because if you look at statistics, a lot of Black African American people tend to be placed in areas where your education is lacking. Housing, things like that are lacking. That's true. But that doesn't mean that Black people are inherently stupid. It doesn't mean that, we're going to learn any differently based on that. I think that's actually one thing out of the pet peeves that I do have when it comes to talks about racism and things that I've dealt with in that case. I do consider myself to be pretty open-minded when it comes to questions that people have or comments that people make, because I know a lot of the time it's so based in ignorance, and I'm not going to yell and get upset and up in arms if someone just makes an ignorant statement. There's nothing to back it. But I get upset when people are ready to assume that I'm stupid or that I don't know what I'm speaking about, anything like that, because of race. And that's something I used to deal with more years ago than I do now.
Yeah.
Because things have changed even in the past, 5 years, the past 10 years, things like that. There have been such drastic jumps. But I think that's one of the worst ones for me. And it can change abilities to get jobs, to work in the real world, and just how we all interact with each other outside of schooling. So
I'm gonna put a pin
Yeah.
on how we act or how we will be in the real world.
Yeah.
So remind me, I'm going to put a pin there.
Of course.
Can you share a little bit about any perceived differences of being a student of Phoenix as compared to any other school within the district? Like, are there any preconceived notions that you all know about, or yeah?
Like you talking about like differences, like in general?
Well, just your experience.
Any differences?
Any different? Like,
Oh, okay.
do you feel your communities or peers or anyone view you any different?
Yeah, I would say that there's a massive difference, honestly, from like this school than other schools. I just feel like it's a lot of. I'm trying to think. I feel like when we were talking about before about like communities and families and stuff. I feel like here we're more of a big family than like other schools. Like you have a lot more bonds and connections. Well, I'm talking about me specifically. I have a lot more connections and bonds here than I have in other schools because a lot of other people, understand me and my background. So I would say there's a big difference.
Do you think there's a negative stigma about Phoenix?
To be honest, when people think of Phoenix, either they haven't heard of it or they think it's a school for special kids. Basically, I would say we are special because we're different from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the best people graduate from Phoenix and come and do something very famous or go something do very big. And they don't know that because they've been here or they just assume things. So, yeah, so that they think it's like a very special school, but it's not really. This is a special school because it's us, but it's like not.
They interpret it in like a bad way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of
It's
stuff.
not. It's
Yeah,
not good.
that's exactly what I'm getting at. And complete opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, to tie into the intelligence thing, I think a lot of people will see that it is a school for disabled kids because we are mixed with a disabled part of the school. But then they'll just think that everyone is dumb or that everyone is disabled. That's not true. And I'll go as far as to say I think that it's actually a great thing for kids here to be exposed to people with disabilities, people with totally different lifestyles than them. It genuinely changes your worldview so much compared to someone who grew up in a very mainstream school. Because we have kids here who have had experiences so vastly different than people that I've met in other places, and that's like readily apparent. And I think people like frown at it in some way, shape, or form because they think that it's weird, I guess, that we're going to schools with kids who are like more heavily disabled. But if anything, it's just shown me different ways of life.
Mhm.
It's shown me
Mhm.
the like road bumps that other people have overcome. And I just feel like there are no excuses. I mean, I see a lot of the people here who've come here who have pretty crazy or sad stories for the reason that they changed to be at the school. And they've persevered through it all. And if anything, that's given me so much more motivation.
So we talk a lot in the district about college readiness, right? And being prepared for life after high school. How do you think Phoenix has and is preparing you for life after high school?
So, the counselor for high school, she gives you so much opportunities to get into good schools. Like, we have keys money here, and you get a keys money start in 9th grade, and let's say you go into a college that you don't need to pay tuition. By the time you graduate, you have $8,000 in your pocket, and you do anything you want with it. And
That's good.
Our school does have like a lot of like programs. They like have like people come in and show us all the kind of schools that you can go into. They also have a bunch of field trips. You can get to go on campuses and see how the school how the school operates. So
I'm genuinely happy to see the opportunities that we have. I feel like they're so openly presented here. We've had, I've actually had the privilege of being able to do early graduation. So that's something that a lot of students here do. And they make, obviously it's hard work, but they very clearly help pave a path for you to make it as easy as possible to lay out your classes and figure out how you're going to leave early for people who think that they're just ready to go off into college like as soon as they can. And I found that it's been such a positive experience. It's been so much more helpful. We've had people come in for slideshows from different colleges to show us scholarship opportunities. We've had people come in and tell us about living opportunities, and they're genuinely trying to make it so that we can go off into our new careers or whoever we want to grow up to be and not have to struggle. And I really appreciate that.
I used to be a huge fan of field trips, loved them. Maybe just as much as sub days, but that I'll leave that there. One thing I'm interested in is your lived community experiences, right? From each one of your lenses, I'm assuming you live in different areas, different neighborhoods. Some of the experiences you encounter within your community, how are those experiences visible or manifested once you come into the school? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough question because I gotta think about it.
Yeah. How does your lived experiences, right, affect you once you walk through the door?
Oh, to Phoenix.
To Phoenix, correct.
I've had quite a few road bumps in my, in high school, and I think when I came to Phoenix, I didn't really know what to expect at the school, but I think I was already doing my best to have an open mind and not be judgmental towards people, and I think that notion helped me when I did come here, because if I were someone, which I've seen before, people come in and they're already ready to judge everybody or judge the school based on the things that they've heard, and not even give it a chance. And I think coming in saying, I don't know what to expect, I don't know what I'm going to see here, we'll just have to go with the flow of things. That helped me when I walked through the door, because I was able to instead look at, because I have heard it in a negative context that it's so different from other schools because we are in our own bubble in a way. I don't look at that as a totally negative thing. I think it can have pros and cons, but I do believe that there is such a positive in having a community of people that I trust, that I can make real connections with, and there doesn't have to be any kind of prejudice in that. So
I've heard negative and positive things about Phoenix because I have a brother that already graduated from here and a sister is still currently here. So I was like, so whose side should I take? But then I decided for my own that I was going to see for myself. So I was kind of uneasy going for it doing the school. Then I had realized that there are people who understand me. So I was like, okay, that's still going, and that's a pro. So then as soon as I went through the years, I was like, I get more and more comfortable, and now I'm here now. So
for me, when I first came to Phoenix, at first I didn't really I was worried. It was like, because I heard a lot of things about Phoenix, a lot of good things, I heard a lot of bad things about it, and at the time I was already I had let's just say a rough past. So like I was already like just not want to be around people and all that. But once I met a bunch of people and met teachers here, I started to open up, and I was like, this is not too bad. And then over the years, I feel like I've built more and more connections with people at Phoenix than I have at any other school.
And it's so fresh on me because I've had conversations with other students like this week, right? And the experiences are so different. In your opinion, how can Phoenix help be an exemplar to other schools, right? Because just hearing it from you, like the learning atmosphere, the culture and climate here is much richer than a lot of other students' experiences. So, what do you think other schools should start doing or employing, whether it be a student body or a staff, to resemble what's happening here?
I would say a very, very important aspect of a school is to have a very good relationship with your students. A lot of kids won't really be successful if they don't have a proper relationship with their teachers. That was the case for me because I didn't really have a teacher that I could really talk to or communicate with. So, but when I came here, I was able to convey all my feelings to teachers, and they understood me. So I would say very important is having a good bond with your students. It's very important.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the culture and climate of the school community, right? If you had a magic wand, all right, I want you to let's take 10 seconds. Yeah, let's take a trip back in time, right? Any of your K through 12 experience. If you had a magic wand and can go back and change a certain experience, add to a certain experience that would ultimately enhance, right, the black student experience, what would that be?
So I will go back to third grade because I made some mistakes, a lot of mistakes then. And at first I was on a roll, I was doing good. Then I made a huge mistake, and it kind of turned everything around for me. So if I had a magic wand and can go back in time, I would fix that mistake because that was the last year I was there at that school, and then I went to another school. So it kind of was a bad experience for them. Mm-hmm. So I will go back and fix that.
For me, it's the same as you most likely because I also had the same kind of experience in third grade where I just made a lot of mistakes that I wish I didn't do, but I wish I could go back, and fix that because it wasn't good at all.
I don't remember exactly what grade I would go back to, but I do remember in elementary school, I was really disheartened by the fact that there were no black staff. I remember I had a black teacher for half a year, and that was it, and I never had anyone else who was black. I saw janitors who were black. I saw people who, helped mostly with chores and, upkeep of the school who were black. But I never saw people in figures who were in places of authority. And I think that would have changed my view so much on myself. That would have changed my view on how other people saw our race, because I was just so used to hearing about the hardships that black people had went through, specifically in history class, things like that. But I never got to hear about the things that we did accomplish. I never got to see role models in my real life who were black and successful and didn't let that be a roadblock. And my favorite people who are role models to me are people who can look and see the problems we have in the black community and the problems that we still face today with oppression, but not just look there and stop and have negative things to say about it, but people who can look past that and say that this isn't going to hold me back, this won't stop me, I'll grow because of this, I can acknowledge this, and I can go off and be a person who is still successful despite this challenge.
That's actually my shared experience. I can literally count on one hand how many African American, male or female, teachers that I had K through 12. Not only the educators, but the literature, the books. Like, there was hardly anyone that I saw that looked like me. So for me, if that was something that I could change, it would, one, just having more awareness for myself and a little more confidence to speak up, right?
Yeah.
Because now I have a different understanding. My lens is different, right? So I understand some of the things we've talked about, implicit bias or systemic racism, and a lot of these things are things that prevent the enhancement of what I would call a strong Black experience, right? Because they say you've got to see it a lot of times to believe it. Like, I can't see myself being a doctor if I don't see someone that looks like me being a doctor, right? A couple more questions. I'm interested to know, what type of extracurricular activities are you guys involved in outside of school? And if any of those tie into school, or if you would like to see them tie into your school experience.
I'm involved in Black Student Union. I have been since last year, and that's something that I've been pretty passionate about. But I've always nitpicked, and I've talked to the principal, I've talked to people about this. I think language should be more implemented in schools in general, but here we don't have language classes, which we do have in other schools, but we don't have here. And I'd love to grow up and interpret for the deaf. I think that a huge thing we should have is ASL. I feel like we could benefit from that. And not just for the aspect of communication with a world that is so cut off when it comes to hearing people knowing how to communicate, but I feel like this is a school where that's something that could be so appreciated, sign language. We have kids who get easily overstimulated. We have kids who are autistic, and the problem of overstimulation and just being so easily overwhelmed can get in the way. And people who do go nonverbal, that could be such a big tool. So I feel like that's something that would genuinely help with kids who struggle with that, and with kids who are better with visual learning. I mean, there are so many benefits. So that's something that I'm involved in outside of school. I do meetups with deaf communities. And then, yeah.
That's awesome. Like, I was not thinking of anything like that at your age. That's very impressive.
I do Crip Recall, Men Equality, and Black Student Union. I've been doing Black Student Union since I was in 7th grade. Crip Recall since 7th grade also, and Men Equality since I got in 8th grade. Some things I like to see is like education for like not education, like you can get like, as a Black person going into a school, they should be automatically like they shouldn't judge them like what they look like. I should like walk in. That's a lot of things to see at different schools, because like just because of what they look like doesn't mean the effects like their learning or how smart they are or what they do, stuff like that. So that's one thing for us to learn at school.
For me, I used to be involved with a lot of different things, but you know, recently I've been doing like research. I want to join some more groups, but right now I'm not doing really anything right now, but I plan to in the future.
Okay. I'm going to encourage the Black Student Union. It's a solid place, in my opinion, for student voice, opportunities to learn things around policy, how to change policy, exercising your voice, getting involved. There's a lot of opportunities in the Black Student Union.
I was in in Black Student Union, I think last year and then the year before, and I was also in Men Equality before, but I've just been so busy with school, I haven't really had time to do them. So
and that's okay. You know, it's it's a student athlete, right? Student comes before anything, so that's okay. I'm going to read something to you.
Okay.
Let me know if you've heard this before. Open-mindedness, respect, and effective communication are all qualities needed for life after fill in the blank. Phoenix. Open-mindedness, respect, and effective communication are all qualities needed for life after Phoenix. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Yes, me personally, I've done a video for the student commitments we have here at Phoenix, and that was part of my script actually.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no. They had me read that script too, so I knew that. I
You
heard
knew it was
the first
somewhere?
part.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew it was from somewhere. But that is they just recently started doing that, just along with the commitments. If you've seen any of those that we do,
Yep.
we have the 4 commitments.
I
now.
have seen those.
And those are freshly implemented. But yeah, I think it sets a good tone for having goals for the year.
Yeah, without even, this is my first time being here, and through this conversation, like I've literally seen this. So, in my opinion, like you guys are walking the talk. Not just you as a student body, but I think a kudos goes to your staff as well, for creating an environment that promotes a solid sense of belonging. And I think that affects how we view school. I think it affects the desire to want to come to school, right? I hear a lot of students say like, man, I hated middle school, or I hated high school, or like I can't wait to get out of school. And I know we all want to graduate, but it's there's a difference in wanting to graduate and move on, or not just like, let me just get out of school, complete difference. So
I used to have that mindset when I was younger. I used to be like, man, I want to just get out of school. I don't want to be here no more. But, being here, like, it generally makes me sometimes just want to go to school, like, because I feel so, appreciated, and I feel so accepted. Like, it's a very nice feeling.
yeah.
Here at the school, when people see when they graduate, it's because they're excited to see what they're going to do when they leave the school. They're excited to see because before when they first came here and how they've grown and what they become, and see what else they can do, what better they can do in the world when they leave high school.
Well, it's been my pleasure to meet each of you. I definitely want to come back, have another conversation. Hopefully we can invite some more students, because I love to hear some of the inner workings and conversation like amongst you all, right? So yeah, and also last thing as we getting out, let's exit with one more thing, and I'm gonna look future. Like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I see myself as an ASL interpreter.
Nice.
So, that's been my dream since I was in 7th grade.
Wow. Okay.
I've been practicing it since then, which it sucks sometimes because there's not a large community of people that I know who even know much about ASL in and of itself, and about interpreting. But the group that I have found, there's a tight-knit community of interpreters in Louisville, and deaf students in Louisville. And so the people that I have met here, I really appreciate, have helped me through this journey. And I'm hoping that I can actually make a difference, which, I mean, everyone has dreams that are similar to that in a way. I feel like a lot of people do. But I want to know that I didn't just succeed in what I wanted to do, but I was also able to impact other people's lives positively. So,
I want to be, or I see myself in 5 years. I hope can make it to where I'm like an illustrator or well-known artist, because I've been doing art for who knows how long since I was little. So hopefully I can get to that point. If not an illustrator, then hopefully a digital designer.
I see myself still working for the military, serving in the army, and just protecting my country throughout my years of being a military person. So yeah.
Nice. Well, hopefully in the next 5 years, I'm still with the district, helping with student voice. But if there's anything I can do for you guys in the future, we can talk off air. But yeah, just let me know. Good to go.
Okay.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Mine too.
Welcome.